Paul, who wrote to the Hebrew people of the world, is trying to go back and name some of the great heroes who have lived in the faith, and said just like they were faithful in their day, we need to be faithful in our day. And he names some great heroes. In this passage here, he talks about Gideon. Gideon was a general who led his troops against the Midianites, who at the time was the most powerful army in the world. And Gideon, with his small band of fighters, was able to win the day. We have a group in our country today that has taken their name from them, right? The Gideons, who hand out Bibles. And if you've been in a motel or a hotel room, there's a Bible there from the Gideons International. The Gideons, those who fought against great odds. He mentions another general named Barak. That's interesting. That's the name of our president, isn't it? Barak in Hebrew means lightning, which I think is a little curious that our president's name, Lightning Obama, Barak was a general who served under the great prophetess Deborah. Deborah was one. A couple of y'all still laughing about that. You're still getting it. Okay. Deborah was one of the judges of Israel. They were usually men, but Deborah was a woman who was a judge who pulled all of the people together and then named Barak as her general, and he fought under her leadership and was able to be victorious. Jephthah, another great general. David, we know about him, don't we? King David. David means beloved in Hebrew. I get my name from King David. I feel beloved this morning. Every time I go to Jerusalem, I've been 8 times now. I go to the tomb of David. And there's a place there which is the traditional site where King David was buried. And I always go in and kneel and pray there and pray to King David that I might absorb some little bit of the leadership quality of that great king, King David. He also mentions Samuel, perhaps the great Old Testament prophet who also led his people. Paul says, look at these fabulous people, these visionaries that called us forth into great service and overcame great odds. And then he talks a little bit about there are others that we don't even know their names, but they stood up to great oppression. Some were stoned and some were mocked. Some were sawed in half. Some were tortured. And he said all of those have come together so that we might have this great word of resurrection today. These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. And then that great first verse of the 12th chapter. Since therefore we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders, everything that lets sin entangle, and let us run the race set out before us. On this 4th of July, we realize that we didn't get here alone in this great nation. There's been a cloud of witnesses who have paid the price for our freedoms in this day. Some of those immediately come to mind, of course. The founding fathers, the ones who risked everything by signing the Declaration of Independence. Every one of the signers of Declaration of Independence could have been hung for treason by the British. Everyone, they put their lives on the line. George Washington, the gentleman farmer who was called to be the general and then first president of the United States. And rather than keep that title, which he could have done, there was a lot of sentiment for him just to continue to be president, he retired back to his farm a gentleman farmer. Many leaders through the years who have insisted upon the great values that we now come to take for granted. In the 1890s, there was a man named Thomas Dewey, founded the Dewey Decimal System that we use in the library. He was an educator, and he insisted on free education for all people. We decided as a country not to go the route of Europe, with many paid schools, and the better schools only those that you could afford to pay to go to. No, we would have free public education for everyone and throw open the doors of opportunity for God's people. Remember great leaders like FDR, who not only led our country through wartime, but established Social Security so that our senior citizens might have a little bit of dignity in their retirement. I remember growing up as a little boy and going down to visit my grandmother in Paxville, South Carolina, and the first of the month, every month, she says, "I'm looking for my check." That little bit of money that came every month that was her entitlement and gave her a sense of dignity and lifted so many out of despondency, and so many that made the difference in their quality of life. We decided to do those things because great visionaries in our nation led us. Where are the visionaries today? The visionaries that are taking us into the future, not just reacting to the past. Where is that cloud of witnesses today when we need them? We are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, not only at the national level, but here at the local level. There are great people that you can remember who influenced your lives. Great visionaries who called us to be greater than ourselves. One of them, a member of this church, Terry Sanford. Went on to be governor, president of Duke University. Could have been president of Carolina, but he was president at Duke University. U.S. Senator. Fabulous man. Called us to be beyond what we are. Established the School of the Arts and School of Math and Science. Focused on education.